I want to talk quickly about how language, past and present languages, have signified this sort of information. We're looking closely at verbs. We're going to have a few more videos on verbs. Verbs are really the most important word to understand in order to really be able to get clausal grammar to the extent that you can use it to be a great aid as you use other material to teach yourself a foreign language. So verbs are extremely important, and they carry a lot of information. We have looked at how verbs can carry the information of person and also the information of um, number, singular or plural. And you know, nowadays, for English, for example, we've lost some of the old and very consistent ways of coding that information into the word itself. All right. For many ancient languages and even for some modern languages, more than just some, the word, the actual letters or endings of the verb will change to convey the information of person and number. But we don't really do that a lot in English. That sort of thing where you take a verb, for example, and you say, well, here's the root of it. That could be usually the first part. And then you say, the ending is what we're going to monkey with to change slightly, um, so that we can convey the information all within that one word of person and number. All right. And sometimes we'll add things to the front. That would be your prefix for the verb. Sometimes we'll add things to the end, the suffix. Sometimes we'll add things in the middle, the infix. But we're going to be adding letters to the word itself. The word is going to be, thus you're going to have, say, the proto version of it, which we would call the infinitive. And then you'd have all these variations of it because there's a whole lot of information the verb can handle and can convey. And if you're taking that one word and you're actually changing the letters in the word, that's called inflection. Okay. Now, English was a heavily inflected language. Old English, very much so. Middle English, quite a bit so. And modern English still has some inflection, but not a lot. All right. So there are other ways that this information can be conveyed. And another way is word order. Now, not so much for verbs, but for nouns, especially in English, we really rely on word order, whereas many languages, modern and ancient, relied on inflection for nouns and verbs to carry information of person, number, gender, time, mood, voice. We'll get to all of that later. They just monkeyed with the actual letters, whereas we in English have developed a habit of arranging it in certain word orders. A lot of clauses in English have the subject first and the predicate second. All right. That is, now when you actually look at the elements of the subject and predicate of the clause, you might have the subject, the verb, the direct object. Okay. We like a certain order of things. And when we switch it around, for example, when we put the verb first and then the subject relating to it, many times that's how we ask questions. We can switch it around, but we'll do it only if we know it's going to carry information of interrogation, questions, or exclamation. All right. Very often we like modern English likes its word order a certain way because that's how we convey information about person and number and other things as well. However, we still have some hangers on, if you will. For example, let's take the word teach. You know, I can't just throw it out there by itself. Now, if English, modern English, were an inflected language, I could, because I could put the person and the number into the word itself. I'll give you an example in Greek in a little bit, but for here, teach alone can't just wander out as a clause. Okay, it's going to have to be I teach, or you teach, or they teach. That's third person, right? Plural. Third person singular is she teaches. Now you hear the S at teaches there. I teach, you teach, she teaches. Okay. So that is our leftover thing from the way that English was once an inflected language. The S there. Now nouns, you can see this also. For example, uh, many times we make a plural of nouns by adding an S. That's your suffix. That's a remnant of inflection. Um, the boxes. That carries the information of number. Sometimes it's an infix like man, men, children. You see how you're changing a letter that's between the first and last letters of the word. That's an infix change. So, or an internal change, I should say. So those are all remnants of an inflection time era in English. Okay. Now for Greek, for example, the word to teach is paidiuein, and if we want to say I teach, it's paidiuo. You teach is paidiues. He, she, or it. Notice those are singular, third person, right? Teaches, it's paidiue. Okay. Then if you want to say we teach, it's paidiuamen. Right? So you can take that one word and kind of present it to an audience, and you're actually it's acting like a clause because it has its subject and its predicate. Paidiuamen, we teach. Teach is the verb because it can move through time. Who or what teach? We, subject. So you have your subject and your verb, in this case your predicate, in paidiuamen. Now for they teach is paidiuete. For for you all teach. As a group, and you're not pointing away, but realize you're pointing straight ahead because this is a direct address thing. The second person plural is for teaching is paidiuete. You all teach. And then if you want to say they teach is paidiuein. All right. So the root is paidiu. That's a eu there. Paidiu. And then you add on the endings. That's your inflection. And so Greek, when you really dive into it and you're trying to learn it the traditional way, you're going to have to do a lot of memorization. And I would say, I think many people would say, sure, all things being equal, if I can learn Greek, why not? I'll be better off. If I can learn another foreign language, that'd be great. I'd know 2 languages. I'd say yes, but it's not for everyone. Okay, I think everyone desires to have more information, to have more intellectual tools, to have more languages. I would love to learn French and to speak it, for example. But the people that are really going to succeed here and not just jump in and after a month be radically discouraged, okay, frankly, are people that are pretty good at math or analytics, because you're going to have to be able to analyze the word part according to clausal grammar. They're pretty good at memory. You're going to have to be doing a lot of memory. Now, if you struggle with either of those, you can just extend your timeline. It's great to have language as a hobby, right? And you could just say, hey, I've got the rest of my life. If I spend 5 minutes a day, I know it's going to take me a super long time, but I'm not going anywhere, And then when I do go somewhere, I'll be in heaven, and it'll kind of be over then. So you can take it as a lifelong hobby, and I think that's actually very rewarding. It could do a lot to keep your mind sharp, and it could really introduce some mental discipline. And you're going to find some ancillary fruits as well. It's weird. I don't want to talk about these right now, but you get better at language, you get better at some other things. Okay, so I say sure, do that. But if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to learn Greek in a year, you better be analytical. You better have a good memory. And the third thing is really crucial. You better have really good time management, like a radical self-discipline. I mean, it's almost painful. It's almost you relish in the sacrifice, right? Because you are going to have to carve time out every day. And everybody is busy. I know a lot of people say, well, I'm really busy. And I'm like, so am I. I don't take the I'm busy excuse anymore. I really don't, because everybody is busy. If you just sat down and talked to most adults that are active in professional life, with a family, with faith, with relationships, with maintenance of buildings they own, like a house and cars, we are all busy, okay? So what distinguishes you is how to fight through that and say, even though I'm so busy, I'm still going to make time for this. And that's where the sacrifice comes in. And it's almost sadistic. You're going to have to realize it's going to be painful, but you've got to do it. You have to. It has to become a principal thing. I mean, you literally have to be looking and say it's 2:30 in the morning, but I haven't studied Greek, so I'm going to study it for 10 minutes before I go to bed. It's that radical. And if you want to learn a foreign language with any sort of genuine movement, and like you're left with something that's actually genuine and right, it's going to have to, like in a year or 2 years by yourself through a book or through a video course, you're going to have to sacrifice like that. It's going to make you sick sometimes, literally. But you decide what your timeline is. It's best when you really understand that, and you know it up front. Because if you're working with a mentor or a tutor and you have the wrong idea of how long it's going to take you, and then all of a sudden you're changing time, everyone's getting frustrated. Very, very, very. It's not so often that these words of frustration boil up to the surface, but it's there, right? Because we didn't understand the way this actually worked for you or for me or whatever, right? So it's really good if you sit down and say, is this really for me? Do I need to learn this? Can I learn it? It's not necessarily do I want to learn it, but can I learn it? And because it's not a square circle, I think if you're nonchalant about this, you're going to say, yes, I can, but you really need to think a little more carefully about the time you're willing to put into it, the pain you're willing to put into it, the sacrifice, and whether or not you have an analytical mind and a mind that's good with memory. And then you can adjust your timeline according to that. So because there's a lot of memorization, this was a little bit of a digression from what I wanted to illustrate with Paidiuane to teach. And the way that the endings changed, because that was okay. Those 6 words, Paidiuo, I teach, Paidiu Ace, Paidiu A, Paidiu Amen, Paidiu Ete, Paidiu Usi. That's the third person, by the way. I made a mistake there. Paidiu Usi or Usin. That's just one recitation of what could easily be 12 versions of it. Okay, so that's 6 times 12. That's 72 endings you're going to have to learn. And sometimes you have prefixes you're going to have to learn and things like that. And internal changes to letters and maybe some infixes. And there's just a ton of memorization. So, you have to kind of buckle in and get ready for that if you want to learn Greek in a year or two to any extent, or a foreign language to any extent that is actually profitable for you. Okay. It's like exercise. You can really do a lot in a month, but if you don't do it right and sustain it, all that benefit is going to disappear after 2 or 3 months, right? So you want to do it so that the amount of time you invest in this, the return of investment sticks and is worth it long term, because there was an actual permanent change in your understanding of how that language works, and your growth of that language, your growth of the knowledge of that language stays. So just some things to think about. Thank you for watching.